going to look at a specific situation that happened to me earlier this year, to look at what the skills associated with research are. Skills associated with critical thinking and problem solving too. So I was sitting outside a cafe at Monash Pharmacy, and this big tree in the middle was hit by lightning, and the blue car was just driving past the tree and it was hit, and the driver pulled over immediately. So what happened is a close-up of the tree was hit by the lightning strike, and curiously, just after the lightning strike, we noticed that perched up in the tree was a magpie. And Dom, who ran to the cafe, who was driving that blue car, I interviewed Dom. I said, what did you feel when the lightning struck? And he said, right now, I'm still overwhelmed. A tingling sensation throughout my whole body. So he didn't answer past tense. He didn't tell me what he had felt like. He told me that he was still feeling this sensation right now. So, and I thought it was quite curious that he parked almost under the tree. Like as close as you could possibly be to that tree is where he parked his car and ran inside. And then there's this magpie that was perched in the tree. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is work in your table groups and use your knowledge of electricity, biological systems, bodies and trees, and non-biological systems such as cars, electronic systems, and any source of information. List reasons why this adage may be true and reasons why this adage may be wrong.
The likelihood that the strike that is very similar to the situation of happening to make it
So simply because of the probability.
Whenever it strikes, it changes the environment, it changes the person, whatever it happens to strike. So you'll never have those conditions again.
Lightning keeps striking the same places aliens come from.
So let's get back to the other side of things, why the adage may be wrong.
You can use exactly the same argument they had for their reasons why the adage may be true, is the fact that no research may or may not have been done on it.
What I want you to do is to actually take a step back and think, to do that activity, what skills did you use? So what did you do? And then particularly, what skills did you use to do it? Yeah, I won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, I just realised.
Well, sometimes it's not free to their knowledge.
Definitely. How topical. Give me a few examples, because I think there's quite a few.
We said like visual using body language. And I drew a diagram.
Critical thinking. Yep.
Imagination.
Yes. Yeah, cool. That these pretty much mirror 6 facets of research that we're talking about. The first one, you have to embark, you have to start somehow and clarify. Anyone else have another example of how you actually had to embark and clarify?
I guess we were wondering, clarification, whether we're talking specifically about the adage, or whether we're talking, was it?
And in fact, this wondering, that's a nice way of putting it. Sometimes you wonder, well, which way should I go? And often we do that as a process of asking questions. So the second one, we have to find information or generate relevant data. The third facet, is evaluate information and data and reflect on the process you've used. I would suggest that you covered these 6 major facets of research or 6 major facets of problem solving or critical thinking in 2 minutes. And that's what happens all the time. But it's often that we're not really aware of it, just how much our brain is going through these processes. And you probably went through this several cycles in 2 minutes, actually. As soon as you start to categorize it, you're doing something different. You're inflicting on the information your mastery. You're saying information, you don't dominate me, I dominate you. I'm going to use you for my purposes. I'm going to use you to answer this question. If you're not representing the data in disciplined, appropriate ways, but not representing the way where you can actually start to see trends emerging, you can't do high quality analysis. These we break down into separate components. As I said, the faces of the jewel of research. but it's an artificial breakdown. There's often a strong overlap between them. So why would we break them down? Well, often for learning, and in your case, your teaching, it's actually better for students to actually see them break it down into the component parts, and then you can build them back up into the whole to communicate and apply. So you're able to communicate. You're developing with the first year students. It's going to be based on at least their prior knowledge, and hopefully part of that will be engineering specific knowledge that they'll be developing through the semester. Reflecting on what I've got, for example, and saying, hang on, have I got a relevant knowledge base? Maybe I do. Maybe I hadn't thought that it would apply. And so sometimes reflecting, sometimes clarifying what they're after, what's the purpose of what I've got to do now. And so I think it pulls out nice different components. Yeah, just showing the separation is artificial, but then you start to fine tune it, and eventually you get to a point where you've got a relatively linear process that's been well piloted.